I forgot about that.
Okay.
Can you make me some purple ones one day?
Like I said, if you buy yarn,
Yes.
I'll do whatever you want.
I'll buy the purple yarn.
I really want a certain one that's at my place.
One? Which one?
I got a screenshot of its Mexican colors.
Okay.
It's like the ombre ones, but it's Mexican color.
Okay. I'll gladly get you that one.
And it's massive too. It's like this big.
Oh,
Like
gotta
this
support
tall.
your heritage.
I still want to make a blanket one day.
Okay. A little glass of water. Okay, let's get going. Script. Right here, go. I need my media. Oh well. Can't test. No. I'll play that, I guess. I did not mean to do that. I might have to do that again in a minute, at least with the intro. So let's begin. So there's a hotel in Arizona where people swear they see headless man in an army uniform walking the hallways. And they say it's Pancho Villa, still looking for his head. And a few hundred miles south, there's another kind of warrior. One that wears a mask, not to hide, but to become something more than a human. Today we're talking about two of the most legendary figures in Mexican culture, one dead, one masked, and the supernatural stories behind both of them. So before we get into the ghost stuff, you got to understand who Pancho Villa was, because his ghost doesn't make sense without the man. Francisco Villa, the most people know him as Pancho Villa, was one of the most important figures in the Mexican Revolution. He was a revolutionary, a general, a bandit, and a folk hero. Depends on who you ask. He commanded the Division del Norte, which was one of the most powerful military forces in Mexico at the time. He raided, he fought, he won some, he lost some. And here's the thing about Villa, he was loved by the poor, liked, genuinely loved. He took from the rich, he gave to the people, he fought for land reform, but he also made a lot of enemies, and those enemies they didn't forget. After his final military defeat in 1919, Villa actually retired, got amnesty from the government, settled on a 25,000-acre hacienda in Chihuahua called El Canutillo for a little while. He just lived, farmed, raised livestock, kept 50 of his most loyal men as bodyguards. But peace doesn't last when you've made enemies the way Villa did. So yeah, how Villa died, July 20th, 1923. Villa drives into the town of Parral in his 1919 Dodge. It wasn't a roadster. It was a I want to say roadster, but it wasn't a roadster. It was a it had seats in the back. Roadsters didn't have four seats. This one did for his bodyguards. He's with three bodyguards, his personal secretary, and his chauffeur. They pick up a shipment of gold for the hacienda payroll and start heading out of town. A pumpkin seed vendor watches the car pass and shouts "Viva Villa." That was the signal. Seven riflemen come out of hiding and pump 40 shots into that car. Villa and his four companions are killed. Only one bodyguard survives. Nobody was ever tried for the murder, but most historians believe it was orchestrated by then Presidente Alvaro Obregón, who still feared Villa's popularity. A man who was too dangerous alive even in retirement. Villa was buried in the city cemetery at Parral. His death car is still on display at the Historical Museum of the Mexican Revolution in Chihuahua, and that should have been the end of the story, but it wasn't. So now here's where it gets spooky. There's a hotel, the Gadsden Hotel in Douglas, Arizona. Villa had visited it years before on horseback, and his horse actually chipped a stair on the staircase. That chip is still there. The original hotel was burned down when it was rebuilt in the early 1900s. That's when people started seeing him. A tall man in an army uniform with no head. Walking the hallway, walking the basement. People swear it's Pancho Villa's ghost, still looking for his head. Now, and this is the wild part, the legend says that after Villa was assassinated, loyalists cut off his head and buried it at the site of the burned down Gadsden Hotel. Why there? Why the head? Nobody knows for sure, but the sightings have been going on for nearly 100 years. And think about this, Villa was a man who was defined by his head, by his leadership, by his mind, and now his ghost walks around without one. There's something almost poetic about that in a really dark way. There's also been reported sightings near Columbus, New Mexico, the site of Villa's famous 1916 raid. Tour guides in the area actually run ghost tours following the trail of smoke, gunfire, soldiers, raiders, rumors, legends, and ghosts that Villa left behind. So his spirit, it didn't stay in one place just like the man himself. If if you're into these kinds of stories, the supernatural, the unexplained, the legends that just won't die, hit that subscribe button. Spooky Mysteries is all about this stuff, especially from the Hispanic and Latin American side. That doesn't get told enough. So yeah, join the community. Now back to it. So now let's move on to a different subject for this culture, right? So you might be wondering, what does all this have to do with luchadores? Here's the thing: in Mexican culture, there's this concept of the warrior who transforms. Villa was one kind of warrior, the revolutionary, the fighter, the man who became a legend bigger than himself. Hey Ashley, the luchador is another kind entirely. Hey Gio, but the idea is the same. The luchador is another kind entirely, but the idea is the same. You put something on and you become something more. In Lucha Libre, the mask, la máscara, isn't a costume. It's not a gimmick. It's the luchador's entire identity, their power, their sacred honor. Each mask is designed to reflect the personality, heritage, or even supernatural qualities of the wrestler wearing it. We're talking about designs inspired by Aztec gods, by animals, by spirits, by ancient myths. When luchadors put on that mask, they stop being just a person, they become an archetype, a living myth. She's doing good. I am reading a script over Pancho Villa and luchadores in Mexico and the connection between them. I'm also on Twitch, YouTube, and Riverside. I didn't post the links on Discord like I normally do, but if you see them on there, you scroll high enough up, you'll find them. And the proof of how serious this is, the luchas de apuestas, the betting matches. This is where luchadors literally bet their masks, mask versus mask. The loser has to unmask in public, reveal their real identity, and their persona is destroyed. It's considered the greatest humiliation in Mexican wrestling, worse than any physical defeat. Yeah, in Mexican wrestling, if you lose your mask, you're not allowed to wrestle as that character ever again. Um, if you have princesas, you can ask her through that. She'll send it to you gladly because, like I said, I'm live right now, and she'll be able to answer that way better than me at the moment. Yeah, so like in Mexican wrestling, if you lose as that character, if you bet your mask against another wrestler's mask and you lose, that is it. Your career is done as that character. And there's been one instance where a wrestler has been allowed to continue wrestling as a certain character, and that's Rey Mysterio Jr. Rey Mysterio lost in Mexico as Rey Mysterio, and he had his mask taken off. This caused a great, like a huge debate in the Mexican wrestling community and the wrestling community, because he's not allowed to wrestle as Rey Mysterio anymore, right? He actually had to go to Mexico and ask for permission from the Mexican Wrestling Federation if he could continue on as Rey Mysterio. And they agreed. They talked it out and everything. But like, I'm pretty sure there's some behind the scenes thing, like he's not allowed to wrestle in certain places. He's not allowed to do certain things or some. There's gonna be some kind of contingency behind it, because it's not allowed. He's one of the very few, if wrestlers to ever be allowed to wear that mask. And if I'm not actually, I think one of the things is that he's not allowed to wear that mask again. That mask that he got taken off his face, he's not allowed to wear it ever again. He has to wear completely different masks now. And he always does that. He switches up his masks every now and then for different events, different things. There are times where he wears the same one repeatedly, that he has like a main mask. But that mask that he wore, that he lost in, he's not allowed to wear. I think that was one of the ones that they came out publicly and said is that version of Rey Mysterio is not allowed anymore. Now the most famous example is El Santo, the Saint, silver mask. He wore an all silver mask. He was known as El Santo. This guy was everything in Mexico. He was the técnico, the good guy, symbolized justice, humility, the moral integrity of the Mexican people. And here's the crazy part: he never removed his mask in public. Not for interviews, not for appearances, not even in the over 50 movies he starred in where he fought vampires and monsters and ancient curses. When he died in 1984, he was buried in his silver mask. That's how sacred this identity was. Yeah, El Santo, I don't think I've ever seen anywhere that says what he really looked like. There's speculation as to who he was. I think some people do. I think he was unmasked eventually, but like, he had a movie career. He did everything. He always wore his mask. If he was in public, he had that mask on. No one saw his face without that mask. And this is where it connects back to Villa and the supernatural, because luchadors like El Santo weren't just athletes. They became folk heroes, living legends, the same way Villa did. The mask gave them a kind of immortality, an identity that could outlive the man wearing it. Mexican culture creates immortal figures. So think about this for a second. You've got a culture where a revolutionary dies in a hail of bullets, and his ghost walks for 100 years because the people won't let him go. A wrestler puts on a mask and becomes an immortal symbol that outlives their own body. This isn't coincidence. This is something deep in the Mexican and Latin American culture. The idea that identity and legends can transcend death. The Aztecs believed warriors who died in battle accompanied the sun. The Day of the Dead celebrates the dead. The dead are still here, still present, still part of the community. Villa's ghost searching for his head, that's the spirit that won't rest because the fight isn't finished. The luchador who never removes their mask, that's the spirit that refuses to be reduced to just a mortal man. Two different warriors, two different kinds of immortality, same cultural DNA. And I bet y'all didn't see the connection coming. Because yeah, we create our culture around legends, around things like that that just won't end. We have celebrations and things that have been going on for hundreds of years. Dia de los Muertos was originally an Aztec celebration. It was a festival that went along at the time of the solstice, things like that. Same thing with all other cultures, but we found a way to keep them ingrained. A lot of cultures that got subsected and divided, they kept alive their traditions through hidden meanings, things like that. And now a lot of the generations are now bringing all those those cultures back. Ours never went away. I'm not downplaying any other culture, but I'm just saying like when the conquistadors and the Spanish and the what's it called? The colonizers came to Mexico and converted everyone to Christianity. And I always say this all the time. They converted everyone to Christianity. The best way to do that is not to destroy a community. The best way to invade and integrate is to pick apart and integrate other cultures into what you want it to be. So they took the celebrations of Dia de los Muertos and other things like that, and they converted it into All Saints Day. So now we have All Saints Day, which is a Christian Catholic celebration. But in reality, it was Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. And you can look at all cultures. Any and all cultures have an All Saints Day. A lot of Hispanic cultures, and that's because of the same thing. Because all the Hispanic communities, all the Hispanic cultures, all the different people that were invaded by Spain and the conquistadors, they had that. That was their playbook. Go in, mingle, talk to them, pretend to be their friends, and slowly convert them into what they wanted by saying, "Oh, we have this celebration that's the same as yours, blah 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 blah," and then you make them into you. And that's how that happened. That's how there's so many cultures that celebrate Christianity, Catholic. They all celebrate All Saints Day, things like that. But in reality, it's their versions of Dia de los Muertos or whatever it's called to them. And that's just how it always happened because that's how it works. And that's why these stories are very important to tell because the legends they don't die, they get retold. And if the legend is strong enough, it doesn't get retold differently. And these legends they didn't get retold differently. They just converted and eventually just came back out of the shadows. Now, I'm not wearing my bracelets today, but normally you'll see me wearing one of four bracelets, if not all four. I'm about to not put them on, but I'm about to show y'all. So I have this one. If it focuses in, it's a little jade one. Has a little coyote on it. Yes.
How's it going?
It's going good. Then I have my rosary beads, which I wear just because I am Catholic. My little rosary beads. Yes, I'm putting all my bracelets on. Then I have this one. It's just one that I like. It's a... Almost dropped it. It's one that I like because it is just black and white yin yang symbol. And then there is my favorite ones, which she hates that I wear.
I don't hate that you wear it. I want to fix it and make it tighter again.
I know it's so loose. It's on the verge of giving out on me. That's what kind of why I don't wear that one as much anymore. I don't want to lose them. Cause I had wooden rosary beads instead of these, and one day Bruno jumped up trying to play, and he clipped it, and it just exploded. He didn't even like scratch it. I didn't get scratched or anything. No, like he just barely nicked it with his paw, and it just poof went everywhere. I was like, damn.
Look how much I got done.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot in a short amount of time.
My fingers are
Huh?
killing me. So my fingers are killing me.
Yeah. But no, one of the reasons why I say you hate it when I wear this one is not because they're about to break. Is that these are the ones that represent the rain god. And I wear them when I read the hymns. And I haven't read the hymns in a week, and it hasn't rained in a week. I want to read a hymn, see if it rains. Okay. She's giving me permission to read one of the hymns. I'm going to read the Rain God hymn. So, I think that's how I'm going to close out this episode. I'm going to read the Rain God hymn and close out the episode. So, before I finish, we're going to read this and the episode will be over. And I'll stay on Irium and all the other places I'm normally on. So let's end this. Let's do my outro real quick. Pancho Villa, the man, the ghost, the legend, luchadores, the masked warriors who become myths, both prove the same thing: that in Mexican culture, some figures are too big to die. They just transform. If this is the kind of story you're into, subscribe to Spooky Mysteries. We dig into the eerie, the unexplained, the stuff from Hispanic and Latin American folklore that doesn't get enough light. Drop a comment. What other Mexican legends do you want me to cover? And I'll see y'all in the next one. And as always, stay spooky, everybody. And before we leave, I'm going to read an Aztec hymn for the rain god. And I'm wearing all my bracelets, so let's see. If tomorrow it rains, I'll let y'all know. This episode is being recorded May 31st, so it'll be what, June 1st, if it rains tomorrow in Texas. Where's my hymn? Here it is. In Mexico, the god appears, thy banner is unfolded in all directions, and no one weeps. I, the god, have returned again. I have turned again to the place of abundance of blood sacrifices. There, when the day grows old, I am beheld as God. Thy work is that of a noble magician. Truly, thou hast made thyself to be of our flesh. Thou hast made thyself, and who dare affront thee? Truly, he who affronts me does not find himself well with me. My fathers took by the head of the tigers and the serpents. In Tlalocan, in the verdant house, they play at ball, they cast the reeds. Go forth to where the clouds are spread abundantly, where the thick mist makes the cloudy house of Tlaloc. There, with strong voice, I rise up and cry aloud. Go you forth to seek me. Seek for the words which I have said, as I rise a terrible one, and cry aloud. After 4 years they shall go forth, not to be known, not to be numbered. They shall descend to the beautiful house, to unite together, and now the doctrine. Go forth to where the clouds are spread abundantly, where the thick mist makes the cloudy house of Tlaloc. And that is it, everybody. I will see y'all next time. Later.